A 6-year-old boy vanished during a family trip to the Memphis Zoo, and no one could explain how a child disappeared from behind a tiger enclosure in broad daylight. The zoo blamed confusion in crowds, but behind the scenes, an unlocked maintenance hatch and ignored warnings pointed to years of quiet negligence. 2 years later, a zookeeper spotted a child's toy bobbing in the tiger moat, and that small discovery unraveled a hidden truth buried deep beneath the zoo grounds. Justice didn't come with sirens. It came with sonar silence and a note no one was meant to find. His story is no longer a mystery. It's a reckoning. At 1:24 p.m. on a blistering Saturday in mid-June 2020, the Memphis Zoological Gardens were overflowing with families. The heat index was 97 degrees, and the shaded walkways between exhibits were packed with strollers and sweat-dampened parents carrying iced drinks. It was Father's Day weekend, and visitors poured in despite a heat advisory still in effect. Aiden Price, 6 years old, was last seen near the tiger exhibit by the artificial rock wall overlooking the moat. His mother, Rachel Price, had been adjusting the strap on her baby carrier when she realized Aiden had let go of the side of the stroller and stepped away. The timestamp from the nearest surveillance camera read 1:27:43 p.m. when he briefly appeared near the railing, craning his neck toward the water. The family was on a short trip from Jonesboro, Arkansas, 71 miles northwest. GPS data from Rachel's phone confirmed their route through I-555 south and I-40 east, arriving at the zoo parking lot at 12:13 p.m. It was their first time visiting the Memphis Zoo. At 1:31 p.m., Rachel flagged down a uniformed staff member near the koi pond. Within 3 minutes, zoo security had been alerted, and staff began scanning cameras and paging over the loudspeakers. When 10 minutes passed with no sign of Aiden, staff dialed 911. Memphis 911, what's your emergency? Yes, my son's missing. We're at the Memphis Zoo, by the tigers. He's 6, blonde, about 3.5 feet tall. I can't find him. What's your name, ma'am? Rachel Price. Please just get someone here fast. It's been 10 minutes. He was right here. We're dispatching officers now. Stay where you are. We have your location from the park security team. The call came in at 1:42 p.m., and responding officers from the Memphis Police Department's Midtown Precinct were on site by 1:53 p.m. They immediately initiated a Code 58, child missing, and began canvassing the surrounding enclosures. Police dogs were requested by 2:07 p.m. Rachel remained near the tiger overlook, now cordoned off with yellow tape. Her husband, Martin, arrived at 2:15 p.m., having sprinted from the zoo cafe where he'd gone to get snacks. Microcliff. At 2:34 p.m., a zookeeper reported that a side maintenance gate near the northeast tiger enclosure was unlocked, the latch broken, dangling loosely. Maintenance logs later showed it had been listed for repair since June 9th, but hadn't yet been secured. A 3x4 FT access hatch led to a concrete service corridor and the primary drainage system beneath the tiger moats. Did anyone check underground? A panicked staffer was overheard asking. The question echoed in the sweltering air, unanswered. By 3:10 p.m., the zoo was placed in partial lockdown. Staff ushered guests toward the main exit, while police requested any photos or videos taken near the tiger exhibit in the prior hour. Heat shimmered on the cracked pavement. The scent of chlorine and animal musk lingered. Aiden was still missing. Cliffhanger. At 3:26 p.m., a zoo janitor mentioned seeing a small red object bobbing in the far corner of the tiger moat shortly after lunch, like a toy. No one followed up immediately. By 4 p.m., the Memphis Police Department had escalated the case from a routine Code 58 to a full-scale missing child investigation. Officers closed off all service entrances to the zoo, and management initiated an emergency protocol that hadn't been used in over a decade, Operation Lockjaw, a full facility sweep. The perimeter was divided into 6 sectors based on GPS grids and exhibit zones. Volunteers and uniformed staff fanned out under the direction of Incident Commander Lieutenant Harold Fennick. Canine units from Shelby County were brought in. Footprints were hard to detect on the concrete walkways and stone paths, but at 4:37 p.m., one of the dogs hit on a scent leading toward the tiger habitat service gate. Microcliff. Just outside the unlocked maintenance hatch, Searchers found a partial footprint, size 11 children's New Balance, red sole. Aiden's shoes, according to his mother, were red with silver lightning bolts on the sides. Aiden's last confirmed location was narrowed to a 90-second window between 1:26:48 p.m. and 1:28:23 p.m. The closest CCTV camera captured just a blur of a small figure veering away from the stroller and toward a shaded alcove near the back of the tiger habitat, not within public access. Dispatch logged all incoming and outgoing reports, including 911 calls from other zoo guests who began checking in with tips or concerns. Transcript: Memphis 911, June 20th, 2020, 4:52 p.m. Dispatch: Memphis 911, what's your emergency? Caller: Hi, I just left the Memphis Zoo. I think I saw something weird earlier. A little boy alone by the tiger fence. I thought he was with someone, but now I'm not sure. Dispatch: Can you give a time and description? Caller: Maybe 1:30. He was holding a toy, a little car, blue shirt, blonde hair. He looked around and then walked toward the rocks. I didn't think much of it. Dispatch: Did he seem distressed? Caller: No, just kind of distracted, like he dropped something. By nightfall, temporary light towers were trucked in, and infrared-capable drones were launched to scan the tree canopy and perimeter. The temperature had dropped to 84 degrees, but humidity remained above 85%, complicating canine scent tracking. Rachel Price, now sequestered with investigators in a temporary command post near the staff garage, repeatedly asked the same question. Why didn't anyone check the moat? Microclip. At 9:22 p.m., a diver team specializing in rapid response zoo animal containment arrived from Nashville. They began prepping for a search of the moat's drainage network, a system rarely entered, consisting of underground sluices and sump chambers that led out to the stormwater basin a quarter-mile east. Zoo maintenance staff admitted they'd been meaning to seal that section for weeks, ever since the June 2nd cleaning inspection. No logs confirmed it had been done. Microclip. At 10:14 p.m., a groundskeeper found something tangled near the perimeter fence behind a hibiscus hedge. A blue race car toy, missing one wheel. CTA. Comment: Hope if you'd search every tunnel, every moat, every nightlight shadow, and never stop. Cliffhanger. The toy was confirmed as Aiden's, but the body wasn't there. By dawn on June 21st, 2020, a command tent had been erected in the staff parking zone, now transformed into a staging area. Over 200 volunteers had already signed in by 6:30 a.m., spurred by overnight coverage from WR Edge and national outlets that broadcast the grainy CCTV image of Aiden's last appearance. The search grid expanded to include a 3-mile radius around the zoo, incorporating Overton Park's dense brush, the nearby Veterans Plaza, and the Lick Creek floodplain. The Memphis Fire Department deployed inflatable rafts into the stormwater retention ponds. Helicopters equipped with FLIR, forward-looking infrared sensors, conducted thermal sweeps above the tree canopy. Microclip. At 7:42 a.m., a thermal anomaly was detected near the North Grove service ditch. Officers approached on foot but found only a discarded blanket and empty juice bottle. By 8:15 a.m., local news was reporting live. Aiden's image, in a school portrait from that spring, appeared in the corner of every broadcast. The words, Zoo Disappearance Day 2, scrolled under headlines. WREG field reporter Lena Wexler aired a clip of a woman describing a worker she thought she saw speaking to a child in the rocks near the tiger exhibit. The zoo quickly denied any scheduled tours or maintenance activities in that sector. Wexler, on air. A witness we spoke to says she saw a man in tan pants and a gray shirt leading a boy behind the tiger enclosure. Zoo officials tell us no staff were assigned to that quadrant at the time. The question now, who was that man? Microclip. Investigators reviewed badge swipes and maintenance logs. No authorized personnel had entered the north maintenance path between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Zoo staff uniforms were forest green, not gray. The heat that day climbed again, peaking at 95 degrees by noon. Searchers were rotated every hour and handed electrolyte tablets. A Memphis PD drone operator fainted from dehydration and had to be treated on site. Meanwhile, investigators drained the western moat canal, revealing a silt-stained grate with rust around the perimeter. Divers noted debris accumulation and poor visibility, less than 3 feet. Microclip. At 2:03 p.m., sonar equipment detected an obstruction in one of the Moat's outflow channels, but the passage was too narrow to navigate safely without cutting gear. Martin Price gave a tearful interview at 4:20 p.m., holding one of Aiden's drawings. "We came here to see the animals. We were going to ride the tram after lunch. I blinked, and he was gone." By evening, civilian volunteers had searched more than 180 acres, and scent dogs had led handlers as far as the golf course fairways. The team paused only when darkness fell. Microcliff. Around 7:35 p.m., a metal detectorist sweeping the staff grounds located a small aluminum keychain, a Hot Wheels brand miniature, similar to one Aiden was known to carry. It was half buried in mulch, 80 feet from the service hatch. Cliffhanger. The keychain was scuffed and damp, but the chain was snapped, as if pulled too hard or torn off. By Monday morning, June 22, 2020, the Memphis Zoo had become a ground zero for news vans, camera crews, and podcasters swarming the main gate. National anchors picked up the case, framing it under the chilling headline, "Child Vanishes in Broad Daylight." Were zoo safety measures to blame? The park remained closed to the public. Security tapes still fluttered along the tiger enclosure, and 2 mounted patrols were stationed at the east and west entry points. Yet behind the barricades, the search was now contending with a new obstacle: noise, of speculation, online sleuths, and false claims. Microcliff. At 9:12 a.m., an email was received by the Memphis PD tip line. The sender claimed to have taken a photo of a suspicious man holding a boy's hand near the north gate. The attached photo, however, was time-stamped May 24th, nearly a month earlier, and the boy in the image was identified as a staff member's child. That didn't stop tabloids from running it. A side-by-side comparison of Aiden's school photo with the blurry zoomed-in screenshot ignited a wildfire of speculation. Meanwhile, the Price family faced a barrage of media requests. Rachel declined all interviews. Martin eventually agreed to speak with America This Morning under the condition they not air speculative segments. Martin, on camera. "If you think you saw something, anything, near that moat, near the service hatch, near the rocks, call the police. Don't post it. Call it in." Microcliff. That same day, a self-proclaimed psychic named Dahlia Krentz uploaded a video claiming Aiden was alive in a crawlspace, calling for his mother. The video gained 72,000 views in 24 hours, prompting an influx of crawlspace tips that diverted police resources for the next 36 hours. Detective Marla Nguyen, newly assigned to coordinate incoming leads, reviewed 142 new tips between Monday morning and Tuesday evening. Only one contained specifics that hadn't already been ruled out. Unreliable witness report. File, number 2271. Name, Jeremy Coons. Age, 33. Occupation, freelance drone operator. Statement, I was flying a DJI Phantom 4 above the zoo, Saturday around 2:00 p.m., and I think I saw something red in the ditch behind the tiger moat. Looked like a toy or a shirt. I have the footage. Footage reviewed. The video did capture a flash of red, but the timestamp was 2:18 p.m., after Aiden was reported missing. The red item? A zoo staff member's lunch cooler. Microcliff. On June 23rd, anonymous posts appeared on 4chan and Reddit, claiming insider access to zoo security footage and alleging a staff cover-up. These were quickly traced back to fake accounts registered in Slovakia. Still, they fueled public suspicion and forced zoo officials to hold a press conference. Zoo press statement, June 23rd. We have turned over all raw footage to MPD. No staff member has been implicated. The hatch in question was not known to be unsecured, but maintenance logs later proved otherwise. By midweek, Joshua's Find Aiden had been trending on Twitter and TikTok. A segment on Dr. Phil floated the idea of abduction by an exotic animal trafficker, entirely speculative and unsubstantiated. Microcliff. At 6:50 p.m., Detective Nguyen received an anonymous letter, mailed from within Memphis. The handwriting was jagged, and inside was only one line. Check the drain. You haven't gone deep enough. Cliffhanger. The envelope also contained a single red shoelace, knotted at both ends. By the end of July 2020, the zoo case that had once consumed headlines was already slipping out of the public consciousness. No suspects, no body. no clear timeline. The drain system beneath the Tiger Moat had been searched 4 separate times by diver teams using handheld sonar and submersible borescopes, including a unit from the Arkansas Urban Search and Rescue Task Force. Each time, results were inconclusive. Debris, sludge, no remains. Rachel and Martin Price returned to Jonesboro in August. Their home, once cluttered with Lego kits and Hot Wheels tracks, was transformed into a kind of shrine. Aiden's room was preserved exactly as it had been on June 20th. His toothbrush was still in the cup, his race car bed unmade. Microcliff. In October 2020, on what would have been Aiden's 7th birthday, Martin tried to reactivate the Zoo Search Facebook group. It had 3,000 members at its peak. Only 27 people responded to the new post. The Memphis police quietly reallocated detectives from the Missing Persons Unit to narcotics by December. The file was archived into the Cold Case Division. Evidence logs show that box Bibir C417 Zed, labeled Price A Zoo Case, was sealed and shelved at the Midtown Evidence Depot on December 14, 2020. Inside were a broken race car keychain, a red shoelace tagged envelope number 1, a laminated CCTV freeze frame, 1 Hot Wheels toy car, axle bent, 2 labeled maps of the zoo drainage system. Microcliff. In March 2021, a retired zoo groundskeeper named Daniel Fetchler contacted police. He'd seen the hatch open before, weeks prior, claimed he filed a note to the maintenance supervisor, but nobody followed up. His name had never appeared in the logs. Fetchler statement: "It had no lock. I told him. I said a kid could slip in. I remember thinking that." By June 2021, the Price family held a public vigil at Craighead Forest Park. Roughly 60 attendees came, candles flickering in mason jars along the gravel paths. Rachel didn't speak. She stood near the edge of the lake, holding the same photo used on the original flyer. Aiden in a Spider-Man t-shirt, one arm awkwardly raised as if waving. The investigation stalled further during the COVID-19 resurgence in late 2021. Memphis PD cited staff shortages and budget rerouting. Still, once a month, Rachel wrote a letter addressed to whoever knows. She kept every copy in a box under Aiden's bed. Microcliff. On June 20th, 2022, exactly 2 years to the day, a low-priority maintenance report was filed by zookeeper Linda Carrick. She noted an unfamiliar object in the far northeast corner of the Tiger Moat, visible from a side platform, a faded red plastic car caught in the reeds. She mentioned it casually over coffee. Nobody followed up, at first. CDA. Comment: never forget. If 2 years wouldn't erase your urgency, if you'd open that hatch yourself. Cliffhanger. 3 days later, Carrick brought it up again. This time, someone listened. The object was still there, bobbing in the stagnant water, right where the moat met the storm drain. Summer 2022. When zookeeper Linda Carrick finally convinced a maintenance tech to inspect the Tiger Moat's outer edge, the weather had already turned. Memphis was enduring an unusually dry July, and water levels in the moat had dropped nearly 11 inches below average. The red toy, a 1/64 scale 2016 Dodge Viper Hot Wheels, was found wedged at the mouth of a rust-choked grate, half submerged in algae. The find reignited interest, but not officially. The moat had been partially drained before, 4 times in fact. Each prior search had cleared the area. Microcliff. What no one had done, however, was trace the full length of the downstream tunnel from that specific corner. Previous maps used in search ops were incomplete. One segment of the 1968 stormwater retrofit was undocumented in digital archives. When Carrick's memo hit the inbox of a recently promoted Detective Corey Lawton, he reopened box DR C417 Zed and filed a request to remap the tunnel system using new blueprints obtained from the city's Public Works Office. Lawton, report log. The original access tunnel design shows 2 sump chambers, not 1. Second sump was never scanned due to space constraints, requesting re-inspection. Microcliff. On August 3, 2022, Lawton and a DPW engineer descended through the maintenance hatch. They followed a low, slime-coated corridor for 23 feet, then ducked through a crawl space not noted on any prior logs. There, Wedged against a sump grate where runoff pooled in wet seasons, they found a small, deteriorated shoe, red, size 11, with a lightning bolt on the side. The scene was sealed within 2 hours. Forensics confirmed the item was consistent with the make Rachel Price had described in 2020. But the discovery stalled again. Budget issues, evidence backlog. No remains had yet been located, and without a full forensic match, it couldn't be classified. The public never heard about the shoe. Meanwhile, Martin and Rachel separated quietly in 2023. No formal divorce was filed, but Rachel moved in with her sister in Conway, Arkansas. She stopped attending press events. Martin stayed in Jonesboro, visiting the zoo once a year to stand near the tiger moat, usually alone. Microcliff. In April 2024, a true crime YouTube channel called Second Sight released a 22-minute documentary on the zoo vanishing. It featured drone footage, CCTV stills, and a digitally rendered simulation of Aiden's last movements. The video hit 3.4 million views in 2 weeks. Commenters flooded the video with theories, rekindling both attention and controversy. One former zoo worker claimed that multiple drains had never been properly inspected due to fear of animal waste contamination. Detective Lawton, still working cold cases, pushed again, this time for a sonar-based structural scan of the tunnel system. Lawton, press off record. We have one area left. It's low, flood-prone. No team wanted to crawl it. But if there's anything down there, we're going to find it. Microcliff, October 2024. The Memphis Zoo quietly submitted a contractor permit request for tunnel desilting and inspection. Buried in the request was an annotation. Sump chamber number 2 requires reinforced grate and safety hatch following discovery of foreign object. Cliffhanger, Lawton got approval. A search was scheduled for the second week of November, with sonar cameras and a diver, November 12, 2024. The Memphis Zoo was closed for what staff believed was routine infrastructure work. Only a small group of insiders knew the truth. For the first time in over 4 years, a dedicated forensic dive team was preparing to enter the unscanned portion of the tiger exhibit's secondary drainage tunnel, known internally as Sump Chamber Number 2. The weather had shifted sharply. Temperatures hovered around 61 degrees, with light rain soaking the park overnight. That morning, the diver crew from Baker & Haas Recovery Specialists, a firm typically contracted for dam and levee inspections, arrived with a Kongsberg EM2040 compact sonar array and a tethered submersible ROV camera. At exactly 9:47 a.m., with Memphis PD and zoo security present, the ROV was lowered into the narrow hatch. Microcliff. At 10:06 a.m., sonar returned a contour anomaly, a silhouette-like obstruction behind a cluster of debris 12 feet into the secondary channel. The object's dimensions, roughly 3.5 feet long, partially obscured, unmoving. The team held its breath as the ROV lights swept forward. What they saw left investigators speechless. ROV log, Novi 12, 2024, 10:09 a.m. Operator, forward lights on. Okay, we've got fabric, red or orange. Something's wrapped around it. Pause. Rotating. Is that a jacket? Confirming outline of a small torso, wedged laterally. Over. MPD. Liaison. Copy. No movement? Operator. Negative. No sign of life. No skeletal separation visible. Minimal decomposition. Must have been cold trapped. MPD liaison. Are we saying what I think we're saying? Operator. We found Aiden. Microcliff. Recovery took 2 hours. The remains were wedged behind a metal grate that had rusted and partially collapsed inward. Investigators would later determine that a buildup of spring debris had sealed the chamber, preserving a microenvironment that slowed decay and made the scene unusually intact for a 4-year-old disappearance. Nearby, tucked between 2 bricks in the runoff wall, they recovered a cracked race car toy and a scrap of fabric with a single faded word, speed. By 3:00 p.m., the tunnel was fully cleared. The site was declared a recovery zone. Rachel Price was notified first. Her reaction, according to police logs, was silence for nearly 2 full minutes before asking, was he alone? The answer was yes. Microcliff. On November 14th, the Tennessee State Forensic Lab confirmed a DNA match. Aiden Price had been found. The autopsy determined no signs of foul play. Cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head, consistent with a fall from 8 to 10 feet, followed by hypoxia. The unlocked maintenance hatch was blamed. The report cited a systems failure at multiple levels, no lock on the access gate, incomplete digital schematics, unverified closure orders, negligence in follow-up inspections. Cliffhanger. The final detail came from a last sonar scan done for clearance. Behind the grate, buried in silt, was one more object. A laminated note, barely legible, with a smudged message. Found it. Coming back. Aiden Price's story didn't end with a trial or a dramatic confession. There was no villain, no courtroom, no vengeance. Only a child. A hatch left unlocked. A toy car drifting toward a grate no one had checked deeply enough. In the aftermath, the Memphis Zoo paid a $2.3 million wrongful death settlement to the Price family, who requested that the money be used to fund permanent child safety measures across public parks and attractions in Tennessee. A plaque now stands near the Tiger exhibit, stainless steel, modest, engraved with Aiden's name and the words, "He tried to come back." Detective Corey Lawton transferred out of missing persons in early 2025. He now consults on drainage system hazards nationwide. Rachel and Martin, still living in different cities, agreed to keep Aiden's room untouched. Each year, on June 20th, they return to Memphis. They leave a single Hot Wheels car, red with a lightning bolt, on the platform above the moat. Not as evidence, not as protest, but as a memory no water can wash away.